Welcome to another dose of Empire, where we share stories to elevate and inspire. I am honored to introduce our next guest. She's an entrepreneur, she's a health coach, and she is a wholeness strategist. Guys, please put your hand together to welcome the one and only Johanna.
Hi, Mimi. Thank you so much for having me. What an honor. It's my great honor to be here and for you to ask me to jump on I've been watching your journey, so I'm so inspired by you and excited for this time we have together.
Thank you so much. First of all, getting ready for this has been so exciting. I spoke to you before and I'm like, oh my God, everything needs to be recorded because we're talking about womanhood. We are going to be talking about marriage. We are going to be talking about everything when it comes to entrepreneurship, momhood. So excited for all of you because you are going to get so many great gems today. Johanna, let's get started.
Yeah, let's do it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I am Johana JESTEADT'S. I am a mom of two. I am a wife and I'm an entrepreneur. I am a health and wellness business coach, partner with a company called 𝐖𝐀𝐍𝐊. And I'm also a certified wholeness strategist with the Women's School. So it's a lot to take in sometimes. And I've learned through entrepreneurship that, there's no, your journey never ends. You have to continue to grow. So that's how I really, identified myself as, a mom, a wife, and an entrepreneur, really just a student of life. I want to just continue to grow and just, grow with myself, my family, and everything in between.
I love it. As I was listening, all of this list, you sound like a perfect entrepreneur. And the reason I'm saying that because as entrepreneur, we've learned you have to really put your hat on multiple avenues to really stay successful, to be financially secure, and which we are going to be talking about more today. Why do you think it's important as entrepreneur to not just step into one field? Why do you think that is kind of important these days?
Well, I really had some time to reflect on that. And I truly believe it's because we have to keep growing. As entrepreneurs, especially in our industry, we have to be evolving always because, the world is changing and we have to be able to keep up, for the demand and the impact that we want to create. So we're not working on ourselves, and growing ourselves. We really can't grow as entrepreneurs, as, innovators and really create that impact that we want for the world. So I truly believe that we can't just wear one hat, have one business. It has to be, what can I do next? There's a summit that you reach, but there's always a new dream in, your different phase of life. That's something I'm learning that, you go through phases in life and there always has to be a new dream. You can never stop dreaming. The moment you stop dreaming, you're dead. And we want to live a life of abundance and really going after our dreams, taking those risks and really just being the people, the men and women we're created to be.
As I'm listening to, that's what a lot of companies like Apple, Sony, these companies are doing that. They are always coming up with the next big thing to keep their clients, their customers, their viewers on their toes. So with that being said, I think when we are talking about womanhood, when we talk about having women coming into the picture, many times it is fairly new. I think it's so new where we are having more women coming into play. And I love when you hear the first woman president of such and such company, because it is fairly new, yet it is highly needed.
Oh, absolutely.
With that being said, why do you think womanhood is so much more important these days?
I truly believe that, we talked a little bit about this last time. We have really come into the workforce, into play, as you want to call it, the past, 50 or 60 years. Prior to that, we, as women, we didn't have that. We were stay-at-home moms, and that was really our only role. So I know my mother personally, she was the first to really, go to college and start a profession and really be a working mom, so she didn't have anyone to really teach her that. So she had to come into her own and, trial by error. And then, here I am, the second generation of, to go to school and, enter the workforce. So I truly believe that it is so important. And, there's so much an emphasis on that because this is where we're coming up. We're just getting started, I like to say. There's so much as women that we have to do, or and those are gifts and talents that we have giving, and really tap into that. Like I said, like the past, I want to say 60 years, are we really tapping into that? Prior, we didn't have the opportunities to do that. And thank God we are in the moment that we live in, this time in history, that we have all these opportunities to be entrepreneurs, to be working moms, CEOs, like you said, first women president, first we have all these new titles because of the opportunity in this space and time that we're being given. Prior, we didn't. So that's why same with you, I get so excited about supporting women. And I think that's what we really have to, as a culture of women, we really have to see the beauty of each other, supporting each other in our space and not comparing. I think we can sometimes fall into that trap of comparison. But like you said, first woman CEO, first woman president, take that in, because it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time that it will happen, and I want to say in our lifetime, it will happen, because, the world is moving at a fast pace, and also women are going along at that fast pace. So it's such a great moment to be alive. And I'm just excited for, the evolution of, women in the workforce and what we have left to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I can see it happening already. Businesses. I think I love when I see women CEOs, president of, especially I live in the Washington, D.C. area. So many organizations where you see the president, the vice president of a lot of these nonprofits are really thriving. But speaking of Washington, D.C., the last time I saw you, it was in the Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And we had such a great time. And I'm pausing because I've seen you transform. Walk us through the process for the viewers who obviously they miss a great outing. The last time you were here, I had such a great time with you, and I had to keep in contact with you. And I really have seen you blossom over the years. Walk us through the process of what has happened from when you were in DC to here. I know you have
oh my goodness,
beautiful, gorgeous. Oh my God, I cannot. Guys, if you're not following her, you're missing out. Her kids are gorgeous.
Thank you.
So one is 3, and the other one is 1 year.
1.
So I cannot believe you have kids, Johanna.
I know.
Walk us through the process, how that process has been for you.
Oh my goodness. It has been a true gift, a true joy. And I don't say that lightly, because I think when we met, I was, recently engaged, and that in itself was a journey. I go back and I have to kind of share my past to kind of make that bridge to where I am now, because I, grew up, with parents of divorce, so I carry that, that wound with me. And I was really, truly scared of marriage. I was scared of commitment. Thank God, my husband was put into my life at an early age, but we really had to grow. I had to do that inner healing, and that didn't come from myself. I really, God and my faith in that healing process. And I really needed to get to a place that I understood what marriage, is about and what it was created to be. Because prior to that, I didn't. I always thought, okay, well, I need to be self-reliant. I need to be able to do everything on my own, just in case it does not work out. And going in with that mindset of just in case it doesn't work out, well, you're already selling yourself up to failure. You're already kind of setting yourself up, not really able to give truly yourself to your spouse, thinking of your exit plan, So that was really my mentality when, prior to getting engaged. My husband and I dated for 8 years before we actually, he proposed, and he had his own, internal healing that he had to do. But we really walked that, kind of just as products of of divorced parents. We really had those wounds. So when we met, I, had truly kind of understood the meaning of marriage and what it was meant for. And I was excited. I felt that at ease and at peace, to really, walk this journey of, being married, being a wife, and, also become a mother. And I was excited for it. I didn't have limiting beliefs that were holding me back at that point. So I'm just grateful for that. And the past, I want to say 4 years, right? Or actually maybe 5 years, since we last really saw each other, has been a journey. We lived in South Florida, and then we got married, and then we realized, what? This is not where we want to raise kids. We want to be able to raise kids in the outdoors and just have seasons all year round. And, my husband and I, and Connor, we had to really sit down and figure out, like, okay, where do we want to start our family? And, I knew I needed to be near a body of water, because water to me is just joy and gives me life. So he said to me, why don't we check out Lake Tahoe? I'm like, where's Lake Tahoe? I had no idea what it was. I'd never heard of it. So we came and visited a few friends, and I just fell in love with the area. I fell in love with just the tranquility of that you felt, the mountain life. And we just really went back to Florida, sold our house, and, I want to say in March, and then by June 7th, we were in Tahoe. So we've been here for the past 4 years through the pandemic. And it was really, I really do think it was divine intervention, because, we didn't have such restrictions in the pandemic, because we were such a small town as the bigger city. So had we stayed in Florida, maybe it would have been different. But over here was a lot more peaceful and just joyful. So that's where we really are right now. We're in Lake Tahoe, and we're excited to just a new phase of life, coming up, which we're excited about. And yeah, that's really where we're at right now.
I love it. I love it. But walk me through the process. Two beautiful kids and marriage and a new house. But you talked about you did not see marriage before. So what made that switch for you? I know you talked about your faith was a good, obviously, uplifting point. What would you say to anyone maybe who feels that way? The reason I'm asking, as entrepreneurs, we many times, especially as women, we get so laser focused. Oh my God, my business is my baby. And many times you don't want to, many times people don't even cannot see how marriage and being married and entrepreneurship can even merge, or many times people find it very difficult to see the two merging. And in addition, when we're adding kids, it's just an additional, it can be more work. What would you say to anyone who probably has that fear where they're afraid of the married life, of the kids? Who really want to be as an entrepreneur, when maybe deep down they really want those things, but they cannot picture the two really happening.
Yes, and I think it's kind of like a 2-part series. And I say that because first you have to build that foundation in marriage in your significant other. I think for me, where I was scared of marriage was because I didn't see that foundation in my parents. I didn't know that, your spouse could be your best friend, could be your partner, and we're called to be life-giving in our marriage. So I didn't grow up seeing that. And so therefore, you're a product of sometimes of your environment, of what you know. So when you grow up, especially divorced, kids that come from divorce, we don't see that. So it's either we jump into relationships that might not be the best for us, or like myself, there's a big commitment issue that I'm like, I'm not ready yet. This is not the time, because I didn't understand, marriage. And I say that I didn't understand marriage because, I've learned that marriage is called to be life-giving. It is, that spouse is, in a sense, yes, he is not your, and I don't sometimes like the term of like, that is your soulmate, that is your person. I think sometimes we're, painted this picture of this perfect man and everything, and there is no perfect man and there is no perfect woman. We are imperfectly, but how we lift up, carry our crosses every day to make ourselves better. So I truly believe that in marriage, we're being called to lift each other up to be better versions of ourselves, and that means challenging one another, not letting that person be complacent, supporting each other's dreams. That so much goes into this, and I would love to have a marriage topic on that in itself. But what I can say is that when I really understood that, marriage could be beautiful, and marriage was life-giving, and marriage is, called for, as cradle Catholic, in holiness, where your spouse is called to help you, become a saint, get to heaven. So when I really understood that, I'm like, okay, all right. So I have some work to do for myself. I had to really, start designing the woman, that I want to be, the wife and the mother. So that is something that, if you don't have those graphs, those, points of, that marriage is life-giving, that, marriage is meant, for your sanctification, and that marriage is, where, it's not perfect human beings. It's, you're imperfectly in this together, and you carry your crosses every day. And that is the reality and the beauty of marriage. It's going to be joyful, and then there's going to be sorrows as well. And you have that commitment to each other, that commitment that is, divine, and that does not go away. You have to constantly work at it and grow together. So when I fully understood that, I was like, okay, now I have work for me. There's work for me to do. So that's how that was the first part. I needed to get to a point that I understood the meaning of marriage. That, feeling confident and secure in my relationship, and feeling that foundation with, with my husband, you're open to having kids. You're open to life, because you feel secure, you feel loved, you feel chosen by your spouse. When you have all that kind of checked out, not like the perfect man or the perfect home or whatever, but where you feel valued and you have that, like life-giving love, you're able to not fear going into, motherhood, because that person is with you. So motherhood is sometimes, I love, talking about motherhood, but let's not also forget the role of fathers, and they have to go hand in hand, So when you don't have, a spouse that supports you and you feel loved, you're going to look into motherhood as scary, as something that it's too much for you to handle. But what if you had a man that supported you, supported your dreams, that loved you, and that held your hand, every step of the way? You're going to have more of a peace of mind when it comes to having kids and motherhood. So I think the biggest thing and the biggest gift you can give to your kids, it's really, I want to say, it's qualifying the man that you choose, to be your spouse. I think that is number one. And I talk to my friends who are single, that you have to really design the man and really manifest it, pray for it and journal like who you want, to marry, because that person is going to be your life partner. That person is going to walk through, the joys and the sorrows of life, and you need someone to really be there for you and pick you up when you feel you can't, and stand up for you when you feel like you can't, and vice versa. I know something that I'm a fierce, when it comes to my family, to my friends, and my husband. I will defend him some people like, you defend your husband, I'm like, not that I defend him or honor him or brag about him, but this man has changed so much. So I think it's also important to just be aware of that, person in your life, because that person in your life, it's either going to uplift you or put you down.
Yeah, I could not have agreed with you more. I was having a conversation with my friend. I think I was in California. If you're watching, you know who you are. But we were talking about this. Unfortunately, she didn't have a good marriage. And now she's going back. I believe she was going back to school. But the idea of, she was like, oh no, I'm not ready to date anymore. And I love her to death. So if you watch, I know you are. The reason I'm asking that question, really to give you that scenario of many times, a lot of time we have people saying, oh my God, I want to finish this project first before I can even entertain a relationship.
Yep.
The thing, what would you say to that? Because I had my reservation with that idea, because as I'm listening to you, I 100% agree. But I also think this is where the religions come into play. So I don't believe in God, I do apologize. But I do think God is in control many times. And the idea of putting, not wanting a relationship and putting the project aside, how do you feel about that?
Well, I truly believe it's about integration. You can't compartmentalize your life. You can't be like, I need to finish this and before I can do this. And that's how I felt. I felt like, I was in dental school prior to entrepreneurship. So I'm like, I can't get married or engaged until I finish school. I had limited myself
all the time, and we hear that all the time.
I had limited myself. I can't do this. I can't do that, because I need to do this. But also I'll touch on this, and that's also, I think sometimes the mindset of women that we have, that we need to do this before that. But if you look at, some men, they're going to medical school while they're getting married and having a family, and I feel there's a much higher percentage of men that do that than women, because it's like we don't think we have the skill sets to, be those professionals, wife and mother.
Yeah.
So with that, I think that is a topic in its own. Well, we have to develop our self-worth and our skill sets to really believe that, yes, I can go to dental school, I can get my doctor's degree and still be a wife and still be a mother. I can do it, and it's letting go of those limiting beliefs that we have to choose this or that. You can have it all. It has to be integrated.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think, oftentimes we don't understand that, and we no one has taught us that, that concept of, yes, you can do it. You can, finish school, finish a project, be an entrepreneur, and still be a mom and a wife. And that's something that I would love, culture to really just have that shift in thinking, especially for us women and entrepreneurs, that we don't have to have it all checked out and then have kids, because then that paints a picture of, kids are not going to bring you joys. They're going to take away your freedom. And that's so far from the truth, that it's going to take away your freedom, as opposed to becoming a mother and becoming a wife. It's challenging, but it's helping me grow in ways I never thought I could. So now looking at my journey as an entrepreneur, because of what I started when I was single to where I am now, I have more purpose. My mission is bigger because of my kids and my husband, as opposed to doing it for my own. It's almost like because I'm married, and because I do have kids, I am dreaming bigger and I want more things.
I love it. I could not have agreed with you more. With that being said, I'm not going to negate the fact that the fear is there for a lot of people. But my question to you is, how have you managed to balance both? We can't leave the fact that there are some challenges when we are taking care of kids, when we are taking up our household and being an entrepreneur at the same time. What has been one of the key ingredients for you to really be successful in managing all of those three things?
Yes, and something I had to learn, because it did not come to me easily. So for me, I would have to say it's routines, rhythm, and discipline. And that is the same way you would run a business. You need to have, schedule your meetings, schedule, whatever you need. The same thing, it comes into running your household, as I like to work in blocks of time. I work from home, so I have to make sure that, when the kids are taking a nap, I am, utilizing that time, productively. And also, my husband and I, we schedule date nights. Friday night, it is our date night. That is where we look forward to at the end of the day, no matter what is happening. We put the girls to bed, and then we're out. Thankfully, we have my mom, so she has the babysitter. And if you didn't, we would hire a sitter to have those date nights. And I think it's so important to really integrate everything, to have a thriving business, to have a thriving marriage and a thriving family. Because when one is not, doesn't have that, it's not high up there, or doesn't feel fulfilled, it's off balance. So it's really lifting all of them up, the three things, to really just have that peace of mind, because I can't be just, hustling and working hard on my business and feel that I'm neglected my husband and I neglected my kids. and that's something it could start small, but it becomes a compounding effect. So it's really just honoring, time management. That is something that for me, I had to, just really learn and become disciplined, getting my 8 hours of sleep, having a morning routine, having a night routine. All these things are essential. And sometimes that means having to say no to things that don't serve me. I really had to learn, that sometimes, okay, you know what, going on that coffee date or just doing that, it's not serving me. And really just surrounding myself with women, like yourself, that are really just hungry for growth and are just wanting to be a better version of yourselves. And it's putting those boundaries, having that discipline, having those routines, scheduling, vacation, scheduling that date night, scheduling everything. I'm not saying you have to be, your schedule can be flexible. It can, but just having that bigger picture in mind all the time and just really sticking to it as much as you can.
I love it. I know you have few recommendations when it comes to merging and staying on track, which we'll talk about more later on. But share a little bit about your background. You mentioned it sounds like almost a picture perfect, right? The reason I'm asking because a lot of mothers or wannabe mothers and entrepreneurs are watching this. They're like, okay, she sounds like she has it all together. Perfection.
Yeah, so, far from it.
But you have grown and polished the skills, and because I know a little bit more, walk us through the process of a little bit of your past and how having that routine, having that discipline, having the rhythm to really merge it all. How has your past got you to the point you are today?
Okay, that's a great question. Can I just give you a little background? I was born in Peru. I came to the States when I was 5 years old. Thank you. We have the best food. And so then
I went to Machu Picchu and oh my God, I need to go back, obviously. But
it's a great place.
By the way, when was the last time you were in Peru? By the way,
we were there. So my husband and a few friends and my Julia was 8 months at the time. We went literally 3 weeks before pandemic hit, and you were. Had we gone, a month later, we would have been stuck for 8 months in Peru. So we were so close, but it was such a joy. I got to go visit and see family members and have Juliet meet them, and my husband also some for the first time. So it was a true gift. I truly believe that your past does not define you, but rather it helps you learn lessons that will pull you forward into the direction that you want. And it's truly our responsibility as individuals to, be accountable and also, want to grow into the people we want to, that we're being called to be. So for me, I grew up in Peru. I came to the state when I was 5. But, my early childhood, again, I think it's a two-part. I grew up with my, can I just paint a picture? Peru was going through a tough economic period, so my mom got let go of her company after 15 years. So she was kind of forced to be a stay-at-home mom for the first time. And my dad just, wrestled with a lot of things internally that really didn't allow him to just be the best husband and the best father that he could be. And we kind of grew up in a toxic environment that, there was domestic abuse that I saw at an early age. And that, was really something that, when we moved to the States and being away from that, I truly believe that was the biggest gift my mom could give me, not to grow up in that sort of environment. And, moving to the States and just being, having these, freedoms and just that healthy environment was such a gift to my upbringing, and to my self-esteem. Because I truly believe had I grown up in a toxic environment, my self-esteem would have been not where it is now. And not to say that, I have the greatest self-esteem, but I would have had to go through a lot more hurdles to be where I am now. So I truly believe in divine intervention in just, my mom made the decisions to leave my dad behind and move to the state and start fresh, so that was, coming, being the product of immigrant mom and just, learning the culture and everything. That kind of made me a little bit feel that I had to do the mindset that I had to do everything in a perfect way, because I owed my mom so much and the sacrifice could not go unnoticed. So I really, from an early age, I carried that with me. I carried that I had to do everything, just check all of the lists and just be this perfect little girl, and not make mistakes or risks, kind of stay in a safe square, I call it. So with that, I grew up, and I, chose the career of dentistry because I felt like, well, that's safe. I'll always have a job. And if something goes wrong, I'll be able to fend for myself and fend for my kids, and, life goes on. And that's kind of where I came. That was my background of, my mom as a single mom. And then, but we were lucky enough to have, just support from my aunt, who's like my second mom. And I grew up in a very strong women environment. So, that woman empowerment, I saw it firsthand as these two women, working 2-3 jobs just to for us able to live in a place that was, had good public schools. It was a good environment. I grew up in Great Neck, New York, which is a very affluent town in New York City, and in Long Island. So it was just, so I saw that firsthand, that I needed to work hard. So that work ethic in me was built in from an early age, and to really aspire to be, more, because I was giving these opportunities that I would not have had in Peru. So I'm forever grateful that, we are here.
Yeah.
But it also, again, it left a lot of wounds. I felt that I needed to be self-reliant. I felt that I, needed to come into a marriage that, if it doesn't work out, I'm out, and I had that mindset. So I really needed to, just do, through faith and just that healing of, a marriage, I can't go into a marriage thinking that way. I have to come in from a place of wholeness. Yeah. So through this, the past, I want to say like year and a half, I actually became a student of the Women's School, which is an online school where, we're really guiding women through, the women they're called to be. So there are 2 types of women sometimes that we work with. It's either the woman that feels they have it all together, but could have go from a good life to a great life, or the woman that has really tough challenges and is wanting to just overcome them. So it's been something that I recently kind of dived in, as a wholeness strategist. And that has kind of been my journey. I was the person that, had a fear of commitment. I did not know routines. I felt like I didn't have the skill set to be a mother because I didn't learn that. And I am really wanting to just make that a mission, in itself, to help women who are having those fears, those limiting beliefs, truly, overcome them, and rewrite their stories, because our stories do not define us. Our stories, it's good to know our stories and to honor them, but they do not define us, because we're much more than our stories.
I could not have agreed with you more. What would you say to anyone? Thank you so much for sharing that, by the way. Beautiful background. I mean, that's one of the reasons I was so aching to interview you. Just powerful to see where you were now and to see how you are really helping so many more. And I think your background was a testament of what needed to happen for you to be where you are today.
I was someone that I used to thrive on, the hot mess express. And I would say, I do great under pressure. Like, this is where I shine. And I did, but it was at the cost of what, that, I didn't have that peace of mind that when it came to maybe, being on a date night, I felt like I wasn't present because my mind was elsewhere.